The how about an assessment of where Richmond is physically after your latest break and what you're going to deal with on Wednesday?
I think we're pretty good. Obviously coming off of a layoff, it's kind of weird, but I think it was good for Sunday for us to get our legs under us. I think everybody's feeling kind of good, a little bit back to normal. Obviously, it's going to be a lot different playing VCU, but I think overall, physically, we're pretty good.
Thank you.
Hey, Jacob, how much, coming off the pauses, as John asked you about there with conditioning, getting back into it, not just coming off the pause and dealing with the fatigue, but particularly VC's play style where they, the havoc, they push you defensively and they're going to try to make you play probably faster than you want to.
It's definitely going to be tough. I think it's tough no matter what, but coming off of a little break, it's going to be tougher for us. I think we're just going to have to, rely on our experience for sure. Kind of just trying to slow the game down, limit our turnovers, and then, go from there.
Jake, give us your scout of Bones Highland as a freshman and how you've seen him adapt to playing in the A-10.
He's pretty good. He makes a lot of tough shots. He's pretty relentless. Similar to Fats, like they're always trying to make plays for their teams. It's kind of different lately. Him and Baldwin have both been playing a lot of minutes. I feel like you don't really usually see that out of VCU guards to be playing that many minutes. But he's playing really well right now. You could tell that he had a lot of game last year. A lot of different things that he can do with the basketball for sure. So, it's going to be tough for us. He's going to make it tough, but we're going to try and make it tough on him.
Hey, Jacob, you brought up Baldwin right there. What are your, perceptions of him? He's a freshman, but he seems to be playing a little bit, beyond his years. You guys are probably matching up a little bit on Wednesday night. Just talk about that matchup if you could for us.
I feel like if you would have asked me this like my sophomore or freshman year, I'd have tried to tell you that everybody at VCU sucks. But, as I get older, it's not that way. I like how he plays. He makes a lot of winning plays for their team. He's a heady guard. I think even though they're young, they play with a lot of confidence as a team. I like the way he plays. He controls the game a little bit. So, I'm excited to see him play.
How does you brought up your experience. How does that experience kind of ease your concerns about playing a game of this magnitude? I know you played Sunday, but coming off a long loss, how does your experience kind of help ease your concerns about playing a game of this level?
I think anytime you get to play VCU, I think experience comes into play a lot, just because their style of play. I think me and Blake should handle the pressure pretty well. I think we've played a lot of different VCU teams, kind of know their tendencies and what they'd like to do on defense. So, just kind of looking back at the past couple of years and then trying to go from there, I think we'll be all right.
Thanks, Jacob.
Hey, Jacob, you mentioned the fact that going to the Siegel Center will be a little bit weird this year with about maybe 200, 250 fans there. How much of an advantage will that be for you guys to not have 7,600 or so fans at the Siegel Center Wednesday night?
It should definitely be to our advantage. The way that they play, and they feed off the crowd's energy. So hopefully we can limit that, with them not being there. And then just trying to take care of the ball for sure. I think that'll help us out. But overall, I'm pretty bummed that they're not going to be there. I talked to JOC about it a little bit the other day. There's some good fans. It's always fun and lively there, but hopefully it'll work out for us.
Do you find yourself watching more games during the pause, and specifically VCU games that you might have taken yourself from being a fan to being a basketball player and started your scout a little early on them?
My scout started the first time I saw him play, I think like Utah State. It was pretty early.
All right, guys, anything else for Jacob?
Coach Mooney. Hey, coming down the stretch here with a handful of games left, got to get hot. Obviously, this is I imagine sort of a familiar territory for you. 2015, it was similar. 2017, it was similar. Even last year, it was similar. Do you find comfort in that Richmond did get hot at the end of those years to at least get in the conversation?
I don't necessarily. I wouldn't necessarily say comfort. I think, outside of Dayton last year, St. Joe's team, with Jameer Nelson. I mean, I think most A10 teams are probably, if you're doing really well, you're in this position. It'd be unusual to be solidified as a top 4 seed or something like that. So I wouldn't say I'm more comfortable with it, but I like that the guys experienced it last year. I wish we would have had the final result of that, but I'd be more comfortable, I think, if we had been playing, certainly. So I think that we can play well and we're capable of doing really good things at this time of the year. I'd just be a little bit more comforted if we had been playing, if we had been playing consistency like a normal season, consistently.
Could you judge the fitness of the Spiders heading into Wednesday, given what you're going to see defensively?
Yeah, not bad. Well, I think, playing the game, I think had some positives for us. But then, you have a fairly quick turnaround to a team that is, really plays in a way that your conditioning is high level, your concentration is high level while you're tired, those kinds of things. It demands that. So I think it's a tall order and a challenge. But I like, given where we were 10 days ago, I like where we are now. But I think that it's definitely a major part of the major piece of the game in my mind is how we can play, how we can manage the rotation, and how our guys can hold that level of intensity for 40 minutes.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Hey, Coach. Can you just talk a little bit about maybe where Connor's at in his rehab process, and if there's any expectation maybe he could make a return for the A10 tournament or some late season games?
Yes, Connor had a doctor's appointment yesterday that was fairly positive. So, the healing, the area where the foot is, the area that's a problem in his foot is healing well and nicely. And he's been able to do rehab and more aggressive rehab as time has gone on. His attitude is great. And so, yeah, I think there still is a chance. It's a tall order because, on top of not playing a lot, not practicing, the frustration of being injured, then you throw in, being in the hotel, or being in isolation, which probably helps in a way as injury, because you get rest, but, removes them even further from basketball conditioning and shape and feel. But with all that said, yeah, I think there is a chance, and I think he's working really hard toward that.
Chris,
Just to follow up.
I don't think there's much surprise between these two programs. So much about each other, but VCU wasn't expected with their youth. They weren't expected to be this successful this year. So are there things about this year's team for which you can specifically prepare other than just saying, hey, they're going to press, hey, they're going to play fast, the usual VCU stuff?
Yeah. I think Mike's done a tremendous job, and they've really blended in their young guys really, really well. They have some very talented young guys. Obviously Bones Highland is a really special player who's having a great season. And so much of their offense, comes directly from him. And then even more of their offense comes indirectly because of all the attention he gets paid. But Vince Williams is a really good player. Ace Baldwin is a really good player. And then they have guys who they've played very hard. They've played very aggressively. And I feel like as they've played well and won, then they've gotten more confident. And so it's easier to accelerate your maturing process when you're more confident and you're feeling good and you're winning. And I think they've done a great job and are in a great position because of it. And then the aggressiveness and the pressing and all those things are always there. But I do think there are some things that, that Bones Highland is such a major, their scoring last year and the year before was extremely balanced. I feel like if it wasn't all 5 starters and double figures, it was awfully close, but maybe nobody more than 12. And this year, of course, Bones's numbers are off the charts, and then Vince Williams is at about 11 points per game. So that part of it is pretty different for a VCU team.
A lot of people are excited to see Bones and Jake go head to head. And I realize it's 5-on-5, it's not 1-on-1, but does any part of it are you allowed at all to kind of think about that matchup and just enjoy it in the couple of moments during the game where you're not worried about everything else, or is it just kind of all blending together?
Well, I will, not that I would focus on it, but your eyes naturally go to such good players, and they're going to make great plays. And if they're matched up, which maybe they won't be, Lane, but when they're matched up, it's even more exciting or brings a sense of just appreciating how good they are and how talented they are and the things they can do on the court. So, I think it is very exciting.
Hey, Coach, you were talking a little bit to John about the fitness level required to go up against VCU. Kind of along those lines, what are the concerns that come with jumping into a game of this magnitude coming off a long break? And, does having an experienced group ease some of those concerns?
Yeah, well, I would say I don't have any concerns, mentally or emotionally in terms of where the guys are and how we're preparing and that kind of thing. It just more is physically. I think that that's why we play the game. Hopefully, there's a little bit of a fog that I've noticed when you have come out of these breaks. And it's not that guys are falling down but they get winded much earlier. They're just a step slow. They take a step backwards when they should take a step forward on defense, or somewhere on the court where their instinct would generally propel them forward. They take a step back. And so I'm worried about that. And then the conditioning of the game. There's a good chance that the game gets very sped up. Even if it's not a high scoring game, it gets sped up because of the pressure that they apply. And so with that, we're going to need to substitute at good times and often. And then we're also going to need to keep guys fresh, not just by substituting, but just by how we're talking, how we're communicating, and just try to help them stay as fresh as they can and in the moment as much as they can. But that really is a tall order against a great team, off of a break.
Well, and what have been your impressions of their youth movement, particularly Baldwin? I mean, here's a guy, he's a freshman, but, in terms of, kind of being a floor general and his court vision and everything, he seems to play beyond his years. Yeah,
really good player. Has a very good sense for the game. He has a terrific assist to turnover ratio. He's made a few threes here in the last couple of games, a couple in transition. And I do feel like he has a right feel for when to push it, when to continue to run their offense, being aware to get the ball to Bones, but not forcing it. I feel like he really has a great feel for the game, and he's a really, really good player.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Mark.
Hey, Chris, do you even talk to your guys about tournament possibilities, given the uncertainty of, even knowing what the committee will look for with teams that maybe have more games like VCU, who will play their 20th game as opposed to you? You only have you'll be playing 15, your 15th Wednesday?
Yeah, I'd say certainly the older guys and I have had longer discussions about it. And in general, most times during the course of the season, I'd be surprised how many college players know exactly how it works, to be honest with you, Sean. And I say that sincerely about conference champions and at-large bids and how the whole process works. So I do try to go over that with the guys, because they're getting inundated, I'm sure, with predictions and projections. And, for the most part, the message is none of it means anything because you have games in front of you. But to understand what it does mean when you see those things and how these projections are made and how the field is selected. So I do try to make sure they understand the facts of how it works, which they certainly don't when they come in.
I want to ask you about something I mentioned with Jacob. He mentioned it's going to be weird going to the Siegel Center with limited fans tomorrow night. Do you think in a way that could be an advantage for you guys as opposed to being in a sellout crowd where you've seen year in and year out and at times really can't hear yourself in the huddles? It'll be, we mentioned this before, almost like a practice type environment at the Siegel Center.
Yeah, I think generally it's been less of a home court advantage for everybody in the country. So naturally for VCU, with their style of play and with great fans, it's that much louder and a better home court advantage than most teams have. So, so I do think that'll be not so much of an advantage for us, but a little bit less of an advantage for them. And it will be, it will be interesting, mostly when we're prepared to play VCU, we have we go against the pressure and nobody can hear anything because we have the music blaring or the crowd noise blaring. But that's as much to go over to combat the mental part of it. We're usually pretty good at taking care of the ball. But we've certainly had turnovers against VCU at the Robbins Center or at the Siegel Center. Not letting one turnover lead to a bad 3 minutes is what's more important, and staying together and staying on the same page, and not letting the run or the negative energy compound. Just trying to nip it in the bud. Talk. Hey, next time come a little bit closer. Next time I'll take one more dribble. Whatever that is, it usually comes back to a simple play, and so. That'll be different because there is no noise, but we still want our guys to huddle. We still want our guys to continue to talk and be tough through a turnover or inevitably something that happens that's negative to us.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Sean.
Hey, Coach Mooney, speaking of the games in front of you, is there anything new in the schedule front?
There's nothing new in the schedule front, John. We are I believe John and David Walsh are in contact with the A-10, but there's nothing to report as of right now.